everyone is so passionate about, like, I've created a very crazy product, it should sell. But when you go out in the market, you realize that there is always a gap.
Any example from your experience where you actually build something, but that's when you realized you built the wrong thing?
One thing which I liked about Zepto is different ways we take feedback. Very happy when I see that kind of culture when I joined Zepto.
Were you also very actively using your competitors' products? If yes, then why? If no, then why?
Another problem which I've seen with products is that their thought process is, my success is shipping continuously. Like, keep on shipping products, keep on working on new things.
What are your thoughts on using your own product versus using your competitor's product? Many people don't want to admit it, but I see some value in it. But I want to hear from you. When, like, working at all these companies, were you also very actively using your competitors' products? If yes, then why? If no, then why?
No, I think there is no harm in using your competitor's product. See, I am a firm believer of that. Everyone, and even if you talk in any of the organization, we are building an ecosystem.
Yeah.
While we are building a company and we are trying to do right for the company, think of it this way: everyone is building an ecosystem. An ecosystem needs to keep on improving. And I have no harm, no shame in accepting if someone is doing something great. I should learn from it. I should leverage that. If I'm doing something great, you should come up to me. I'll tell you that this is what we have done. Why don't you learn from it? Because at the end of the day, we are serving the same customer.
Yeah.
Right. So there is no harm in looking at your competitors, seeing what good they are doing, understanding what bad they are doing, so that you don't repeat the same mistake. So
are you currently using? Using other quick commerce products?
Yes, I do. I regularly visit. Not only in India, I do it across the globe. I do it. I do study Chinese apps. I do study. The only market which I'm not much aware about is the LATAM, but I do study US products, US companies which are in the quick commerce. I do study European market, and that you learn a lot of things. Like, and it also gives you validation. Like, one of the product which we are building, there is one quick commerce company in Europe, which they have built it long back. Not quick commerce, they're like they delivery space, but they have built that product. It gives me validation also. Like, while we're starting to do something, they have done something way before, and it's a good scalable product for them. So it gives me validation that, hey, this is it. Validation of the idea as well as real value of the product also. Like, if they can generate that much, value from that product, I could also do the same. And
at least it's worth experimenting.
Yes.
Yeah, worth experimenting with, and then you can always decide if you want to scale it depending on the results that you see.
Yeah, obviously you have to look at the market, you have to look at the context of the user, look at the industry which you want to operate in, but there's no harm in learning from others. That's the best way to learn.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm going on any travel airports, and if I see someone consuming my product or the organization, I go up and ask them. Sometimes people feel intrusive, like, why are you disturbing us? Like, if you have time, can you tell me why are you using this product? For how long you have been using this product? What do you like about it? What do you dislike about it? Without telling that I'm being part of the same team, just to understand their perspective. And having that conversation for some time, just to take that feedback. And I've done that for most of my products which have been. I also ask in interviews, like, if someone is, if I'm interviewing for some role, I ask them, are you using this product? What do you like about it? What do you don't like? Would you be okay paying for it? So these kind of questions I ask. And you get a lot of interesting feedback. Like, one of the feedbacks which I've got from my mother itself, like, she uses one of our competitor product because she can order via voice. We have rolled it out, but in some setups. But that's a good feedback for me. Like, she doesn't want to type. She doesn't want to search. She's like, if I can search for a product via voice, and then I can.
So is it not there on Zepto?
I think we're still building it.
Okay. Right. The insight that you might have gotten from speaking with strangers when you saw them using Zepto, like you said. Anything particularly interesting that you got from one of these conversations that actually ended up becoming part of your product strategy?
Interesting. See, in previous of the organizations where I was working in, I was just trying to understand. So we were experimenting around the distribution of the product. That how do we do the right distribution and acquire more user or scale the use case of it. And so I was having the so I was traveling across. I was in a flight, and then one of the person beside me was consuming that product. I don't want to name the product, but and then I casually started talking that why you were using this, what's the reason, and I said how did you get to know, and there is a different anecdote which I got to know is that the user was using another of our services, and in that service we have showcased an ad. You just clicked on it and then tried it for the sake because we were giving some offer around that your usage is free or this is coupled with the same
Okay.
first service which you are doing. And then it helped me realize that there are, while I'm doing a lot of marketing around social media and everything, I should go double down on what my core product is. Can I bundle it with the previous service and sell it better? So these kind of insights you get a lot, like because you get to know where the user is discovering it.
Yeah.
In my head, I could have still thought of that. Hey, we should do social media marketing or we should try different avenues, but people are using it in a very different way.
Hmm. Interesting. Something that I wanted to share here quickly. I actually went for hiking a few weeks back, and at the top of the hill, somebody recognized me, and he said, "Are you Navneet?" I said yes, and he said he attended one of our offline meetups just a couple of weeks back. I'm like, oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't recognize you. But then we chatted for a while, and there were a couple of activities where I needed some help, and he was being very helpful. But it just occurred to me that this person discovered the Airtribe brand, and he introduced his friend to me. Like, hey, do you remember Airtribe event mein gaya tha? And it occurred to me, people can discover you from any of these touch points and build a memory of your brand. So it's super important that you do everything right, because this person did nothing else on Airtribe, only attended one masterclass, and he had to build an impression. Thankfully, that event was well received. So he had good memories. Otherwise, it would have been not so helpful.
I had bad feedbacks also. Like people do give you scary feedbacks on online as well as in person, but you have to take it. If you are evangelizing your product, there would not be like a situation everyone is just praising the good work.
Yeah.
People will also find shortcomings, and that is important as well. That's
It's
how
a
you
gift.
improve. That's
It's
how
a
you
gift
improve.
if somebody actually gives you feedback. My worry is always like when we do something and there is no feedback coming, or let's say people just give 5-star rating, 4-star rating, and I always ask the team, what do I do with this rating?
Right.
Ask them to write a descriptive feedback,
Right.
create some kind of incentive for them. But unless and until they share written feedback, it's of no use. What do I say? This event was 5 point, 4.8, 4.7. It's not very helpful.
The only feedback which I feel embarrassed about is there are so many ads. I'm like, I am the one responsible for.
There is not much you can do. I
I agree.
From all this experience, if I had to ask you, from a PM's point of view,
Yeah.
how much exposed they should be to business, to PNL, to be a successful product leader? What would be your take on that?
See, I feel it's a core part of the. So if there is no business, if there is no revenue coming, at the end of the day, there would not be product. You could start with it, but at some point, all of these are required in a sustainable way for you to keep on building more, keep on distributing more. So I feel you should have a sense of it. While it's not necessarily that you need to own it or you need to be responsible for it, but there is a very important need that in terms of why we are doing it, what it eventually result into. So this why part and how it will happen, that's where the product plays a very important role in. If you do not understand, you will not be able to prioritize it right. You will not be able to scale it right. You might be shipping things, but see, this is where I see the objective is to cross the ocean,
Yeah.
not to build a ship and just relax. And this is where you need to go hand in hand with the business, making sure that you are building the right set of products and services.
There are some companies, I think, particularly in B2B, I have come across where the PMs are expected to own the P&L. But you are saying they being aware of it is important, how their work affects it is important. But any thoughts on how it might affect PM's overall like learning and growth in career if they are also given the responsibility of owning the P&L of the product?
See, owning a PNL and selling a product is very different. What I feel is every product manager should sell to first 3-4 clients, whatever feature they are building, whatever product they are building, whatever.
What do you mean by selling here? Getting them to adopt it, or also asking them to pay for it?
Asking them to pay for it.
Okay.
It helps you understand whether you have solved the right problem. It helps you also understand and empathize with your sales counterpart that hey, it is tough to sell. And this I've realized, like when you start building any product, everyone is so passionate about like I've created a very crazy product, it should sell. But when you go out in the market, you realize that there is always a gap in terms of what you have built and what is being needed.
So coming back to Zepto, I wanted to ask, what's your approach to product management there?
See, one thing which I liked about Zepto is, and it's a need of the ecosystem also, like we are a very, user focused, user centric product, is the different ways we take feedback. Like, and this is something which I'm very fascinated, and I was very, very happy when I see that kind of culture when I joined Zepto, and this is very inherent to them. See, a lot of people would go and have user feedback sessions, or user the design team and the product team will go. There is an inherent bias in it. If you're asking someone to give feedback, itself has given a very bias. Still, there are ways to mitigate it, but people do that. We do not stop there. We do a lot of experimentation and take continuous feedback. So like we have built state-of-the-art experimentation engine where you could run multiple experimentation on different variants of it. Like even today also, if you see the app, the experience will be slightly different for you as compared to what it is for me.
Okay.
So the experimentation goes into very depth of it, and we try and measure the feedback in terms of actual data. It's not like there is qualitative part of it, there is quantitative part of it. And then there is also one side where we also listen from the social media and the explicit feedback which goes into. Like we have an internal channel where we broadcast whatever is happening across what people are talking about Zepto,
Yeah.
any customer feedback which is there, and which goes into everyone reads into it and identify which space the feedback is.
Something like social listening.
Yes.
Everywhere Zepto is being mentioned.
Yes.
For what? People should know in the company.
Yes.
Is it like the whole company or a product team we're talking about here?
Majorly product and the leadership.
Okay.
But it's open for all. People can
Okay,
consume
understood.
it, but we listen that. So that is something which I find very very good about Zepto. Like they are very user focused. They are very data centric, and that's what helps them to scale to a level which they are at such a short time, which is phenomenal. And there's something which I find like while a lot of people will say that hey, you should be user focused, saying and living it every day, there's a difference in it, and I feel that's where the value also comes in.
Anjul, I would want you to spend a bit more time on what it means to be user focused and why anyone who wants to be a product manager or any product company for that matter needs to be user focused. How does it help the business?
See, when you say user focused, I'll also like to add that user/customer focus. See, some of the times you might have multiple stakeholders which
Yeah.
are you're consuming your product and services, But this is a very key thing to do. See, if you're not user focused, you are not listening to them, you're not understanding what their requirements are. There is a phrase which I very frequently use. You need to solve needs, not wants.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what would happen is a lot of people would have their own set of theories, a lot of people would have their own set of ideas. Who is going to validate it? How do you know that, hey, this will work or not, or we should do it or not? So user is at the end of the day who is the who is the one who is going to experience, consume, or utilize what you are servicing. And that's where it becomes very important that you listen to your user. And that's what I mean by customer focused. See, acquiring user, or having a initial jump in terms of you have launched a product, a lot of people would come, but the sustainable growth comes in when you become a habit pattern for your end.
Yeah, and the user keeps coming back to you.
Right. And that would only happen when you are always listening to them. If you're not listening to them, at some point people will start dissociating from the brand which you have built, dissociating from the platform which you have built. And that would eventually hamper the overall initiative which you have started in terms of building a business. So customer always sits in the center, that you have to do the right thing for the customer.
That means anyone who also wants to become a PM, it's super critical that they have some form of customer empathy, because if that is not there, it will be super hard for them to
No, I totally
become
agree.
an
And I
effective
believe you
product
should
manager.
also be, see, while you like that product, whether you have requirement for that product, if you're part of a certain product team, you should be the user or consumer first. If you're
Yeah.
not consuming your own product, I'm telling you, you will never be able to make a great product. And I solely believe in it. While in any of the organization where I have been, you would not believe the first thing which I do is I become the avid consumer of it, if I have not been before. But I make sure that I do the consumption even if I don't have the requirement. Like, I'll give you a very simple example. I'm not much of a TV consumer, but while I was in Z5, I used to watch Z5 every day for some amount of time. And that's how I had developed the love for South Indian movies, the regional content. Like, initially, I was much more focused towards the Hindi and the English content part of it, but then I realized that there is much more content beyond these two languages. So you learn in that phase, but you need to be the first consumer.
Yeah. So you said it's less of balance, more of synergy.
Right.
Are there any underlying principles that you have understood to do a good job with doing right for the users and also doing right for the advertisers? There must be 2-3 principles that you must have come across in your experience that others can also keep in mind when they monetize, because monetizing a consumer internet product can always be challenging. Is it really going to degrade the customer experience? Is something every PM worries about. So how did you figure it out?
See, every platform, every ecosystem could have different principles. What you need to understand is your users in depth. Like for Zepto, so there are majorly 2 or 3 sectors of the users. If I define from the user journey perspective, so there are certain set of users who are very search heavy, like who know that this is what I want and this is what I'm coming for. It could be affinity towards a brand, it could be affinity towards a certain product or a certain category. Then there are certain set of people who are more open to explore. So that's why you see there are 2 behavior pattern. One is the browse pattern where we will give you more exploration.
Yeah.
And then there is a search pattern. So that's, if you understand these 2 basic behavior principles, you can build your products around it. Like for search, we have very heavy guardrails in terms of making sure if a user is searching anything, we are trying to respect that search and then trying to provide products, both organic and ads, in that ambit.
Understood.
Right? If you look at the browse, we have much more breather. Like we could give you different set of products, try and explore you cross category, try and give you different flavor of it. And then we keep on taking feedback both from the user and the customer. Like
When you say customer, you mean the brand,
Yes.
the
So when I
advertiser
say
here.
customer, this is brand, advertiser, user is the one who is going to purchase.
Okay.
Right. So this is one interesting product which we are building is usually if someone is, let's say, searching for let's say chips for this or any any munchies. There is a, if you understand that munchies go hand in hand with, let's say, drinks, right? Let's say if you are looking for cold drink or people usually try and buy them together. But if you look from a search perspective, if a user is searching cold drink or beverages, I should not show them munchies by the very normal logic of it, because if you're trying to do, but there are certain discoveries which happen. The brands also tell us, the users also tell, like if someone is searching this and then eventually is going to buy a chips also after buying a cold drink.
So in the checkout page,
Yes.
maybe you can show it.
Not even checkout, I can even the discovery I can create. So
Okay.
because this is the consumption pattern which we have learned from the user, that at the end of the day, if their cart has both the things and they're buying these bundles together, then it gives me an opportunity to either create unique bundles of ads or to go slightly cross category and then serve better.
Okay.
Right. So these are the insights or learnings which you can get if you understand your user behavior and user's guardrail. Like if I'm searching for something very specific and if I show that discovery, it might not work.
So one question I have related to that, because you are also dealing with advertisers here, and Zepto is a consumer-centric company, and also a product that is very loved by its by its users, including me.
Perfect.
So
Thank you.
I wanted to know, for a consumer-first platform like Zepto, how do you balance needs of both the parties, the users and the advertisers?
Oh, very interesting. A lot of people get confused in that. I'll try and give you a very extreme side of it, which builds a perspective that why it has to go hand in hand. Assume that I have a very large, assume that we have a very large advertising business. Imagine if all the users go away, my revenue would still would become eventually zero, right? So my revenue comes from the intersection of users and the customers. And if you look at from the customers or the brand's perspective, they also eventually want to sell it to the users, right? And important thing which we try and do is we don't want to force fit to the end customer. We want to make sure that whatever end customer's demand is, how do I marry it with the right set of brand or advertiser? And that's where the guardrail for relevance comes in. And this is a very key metric for us, that even though we are promoting products, we are making sure that we are respecting users, likes, dislikes, and his set of interest and his behavior, and not force fitting it. So that's why I don't feel you not essentially need to create a balance as such. It's like it is synergetic. There are two set of entities. One is brands and another is Zepto as a platform. But at the end of the day, we are trying to provide what our users are seeking. So I don't feel there is any difference in terms of our objectives. The objectives are same, and that's why most of our energy goes into educating brands, providing them with the right set of insights and analytics, that how do you become better, how do you sell better. And that's why if you see across all properties, we have tried and built unique products around brand building, around discovery of the product, and then eventual transaction as well.
So coming to Zepto, what's your current focus?
Okay. See, in Zepto, I look after three lines of businesses. One is the endemic, which is how do I help brands which are listed in Zepto sell better to the end customer, and we help them in all the three facets of the journey, starting from brand building to product discovery to eventual purchase. Then we also help, given that we understand more about those users, we understand what their likes and dislikes are, we also help the non-endemic part of the business, which is like people who are brands which are not listed, how do they also reach out to the right set of customers. Example, any BFSI sector who wants to showcase their product of credit card, insurance, similarly gaming and others. And we are also trying to figure out how do we go and monetize these users outside of the platform as well. So these are the three line of businesses which encompasses in the ad stream.
Okay, understood. What's the hardest part of doing ads and monetization on a platform like Zepto?
See, the hardest part, I'll give you a very simple observation. Go to Play Store and App Store and search for any app's reviews. Almost 50% of the reviews will talk about lot of ads. We do not like ads, right? Ads are you'll show a lot of ads, and this is true for any app which is in the ads model. Inherently, people have so, and this is what I feel, which industry needs to improve on and educate more. Ads are not inherently bad. The experience is bad, right? And I'm, and I understand when people have thought of that narrative inherently, that they're already against the concept. So any build, ads and monetization business which any organization is doing, they always face this continuous, scrutiny in terms of users, pushing them, hey, say, you're showing a lot of ads. But if if you look at from the experience perspective, any recommendation which is happening is a recommendation at the end of the day. If it is organic to the product, you call it like this is the core product which you are serving, product or services. Anything which is not part of your ecosystem, you call it as an external ad. The idea here is that how do you create that journey seamless and it's not deterrent to the customer experience. That is where the synergy lies in. But still, the biggest challenge is to overcome that stigma associated with the ads are bad.
When it comes to hiring,
Yeah.
when it comes to hiring for PMs in your team or at Zepto overall, like what do you really look for these days? And has it really changed given the market conditions?
See, there are certain core values which I look for, and then there are certain requirement for the business or the vertical which I'm hiring for. So the hiring goes in both these facets. Like someone needs to fill in for both the aspects. For the value principles, I always look for people who are, you know, who have energy, who have eagerness to deliver, who have high agency attitude. Like if you give them a problem, they will not come to me and say, hey, ये तो analytics का काम है, ये तो engineering का काम है. He might get it done via analytics team. I have no problem in it, but I don't prefer someone just not doing the ownership completely. Then I also look for tenacity or rigor. See, while we are doing all of these things, people talk about a lot of fancy stuffs, rosy stuffs, but there are most of the work is a constant grind, and in that process, in that journey, you get demotivated, you get frustrated, you get burned out. The person who can wake up next morning and say, this is a new day, let me go and build it again, let me go and fight it again, and this constant happens, and one day you will realize that you have moved the needle.
Yeah.
So these are the value principles. Ethics is very important to me, like, and you should have courage to say the right thing without looking at who you are talking to or without looking at the seniority of it.
Yeah.
You should do the do the right thing. These are the core value principles which I look for in the hiring aspect. But then I also look for, if think of it this way, if I'm hiring someone for recommendation, if the person does not have any background of building recommendation or does not have understanding of AI recommendation, machine learning, or deep tech in terms of how recommendation happen, it would be very difficult for that person to deliver good and move up the hierarchy. So while I'm hiring, I need to make sure that they are doing right for the business which they are being hired for the product they are being hired for. But I also want them to grow up in the hierarchy.
Yeah.
They also need to feel good about it. If you are not fit for the role which you are being hired for, then it's a path for failure for you. And I don't want that for the organization nor for the individual. So these are the things. And so experience does matter. Your previous experience of delivering it in quality, in scale is also important.
So thank you, Anjul, for coming to the pod. It was wonderful speaking with you. Learned so much about product, about business, about ads and monetization. Something that I haven't spoken to anyone about in so much detail. So yeah, it was great chatting with you today.
Same here. Thank you for inviting me, and I hope this would be a good conversation story for your audience and
Yeah,
for the people who are watching.
I'm sure the audience will love it. So we come to the end of this episode of the Airtribe podcast, and I hope you loved it. I'll see you in the next one.